here we go, graphing y equals tan 2x. So we know that from transformational form that this is our b in our b position of transformational form. So maybe the first thing we want to do is figure out what is the period of this function. So period equals pi over b for a tangent function, because with no transformations, the period of a tangent function is pi. All right, so now we have pi over b is 2. So the period is actually pi over 2 instead of pi. All right, with no other transformations, that period of pi over 2 will span equidistant, if we think about where the asymptotes are, over the y-axis. So the first two asymptotes, vertical asymptotes, will appear from a distance of the y-axis half of how big the period is. So that means this asymptote will now be at x equals pi over 4, and the next one back here will be x equals negative pi over 4. And let's double check, is this one period horizontal distance from negative pi over 4 to positive pi over 4? That is pi over 2. So yes, that's the correct distance. Now that's going to repeat every pi over 2. Those asymptotes will repeat every pi over 2. We're only looking at this restricted domain, which is why I put my graph from negative pi to positive pi. So for every pi over 2 units, we need another asymptote in both directions. So this would be pi over 4, pi over 2 would be here. Whoops, should be halfway in between there. Okay, so x equals 3 pi over 4. And there's not going to be another one showing because our restricted domain says to stop at pi. We need to come back here and add another one in at x equals negative 3 pi over 4. Okay, so there's our asymptotes. What else do we know about the tangent function? We know that with no other transformations, it's going to cross the x-axis halfway between the asymptotes. Okay, so it's going to cross the x-axis here, going to cross the x-axis here, cross the x-axis here. Continuing this pattern, it will also cross the x-axis here and here. The next thing we know will halfway in between each asymptote and where it crosses the x-axis, it will reach 1 on one side and negative 1 on the other side. So halfway in between here and here, here and here. And we'll continue that pattern. So that means halfway in between here and here, it'll be here. Halfway in between here and here, it'll be down here at negative 1. So now we can draw these curves on to finish our graph. And you can see the shape of that tangent curve. We cannot go beyond our restricted domain though, so we're stopping at pi there, stopping at negative pi there. So this is the graph y equals tan 2x. The period is changed based on this formula, and we have a restricted domain from negative pi to pi.